I stay silent and everything will come naturally. You see, in this world of endless noise, everyone is screaming. Everyone is desperate to be seen, to be heard, to be validated. And yet the strongest ones are not the loudest. They are the ones who sit back in silence, watching, absorbing, calculating. Silence is not weakness. Silence is power. When you stay silent, you learn, you listen, you pick up the small details others are too busy shouting to notice. The man who cannot stay quiet is a slave to his emotions, but the one who controls his tongue controls his destiny. Patience, forged in silence, sharpens the mind like a blade. The world will try to rush you, pressure you, tempt you into reacting, but if you stay grounded, if you master silence, the right opportunities, the right people, the right timing will reveal themselves. Greatness is not built through chaos. It is born in discipline, in stillness, in the unshakable ability to remain calm when everyone else is losing themselves. You don't chase what belongs to you, it finds you when you have prepared in silence. Silence creates clarity and control, yet most people are terrified of it. They fear silence because silence exposes them to themselves. In silence, you cannot hide behind excuses, distractions, or noise. You are forced to confront the truth of who you are, your strengths, your weaknesses, your hidden insecurities. That is why so many run from it, why so many bury themselves in endless conversations, music, scrolling, gossip, constant stimulation, because silence is a mirror. But here's the reality. Clarity cannot exist in chaos. You will never find direction in a storm of noise. Only when you step back, shut your mouth, and quiet your mind do you see the path clearly. Silence allows you to listen not just to others, but to yourself, your instincts, your intuition, your inner voice. It gets drowned out by the external world. In silence, it becomes audible again. And that voice, that instinct, will guide you more powerfully than any advice, any motivational video, or any book. Clarity comes when you strip away what doesn't matter. In silence, you realize how much of what consumes your time is irrelevant. You start to notice the difference between urgency and importance, between what people scream at you to do and what you actually need to do for your own growth. Most people are lost because they never stop to pause. They never take a breath to examine where they're heading, and so they run faster and faster, chasing approval, chasing trends, chasing shadows. Silence gives you the power to stop running blindly and finally see the map. It teaches you patience, it teaches you timing, it teaches you to understand the difference between movement and progress. Control is born in silence because silence gives you mastery over yourself. Anyone can talk, anyone can react, but silence is the weapon of the strong. When someone provokes you, the weak man barks back instantly, loses composure, spills his emotions into the hands of his opponent. The strong man, the disciplined man, stays silent, watches, waits, and lets the other burn out. Control is not about suppressing who you are, but about owning every part of yourself. It means your emotions serve you instead of enslaving you. In silence, you are untouchable because nothing and no one can pull you into chaos. Silence turns you into an observer, and observation is power. When you listen more than you speak, you notice details others miss. You see intentions behind words, you detect lies behind smiles, you recognize opportunities hidden beneath problems. Silence is the art of gathering strength while the world wastes its energy. Silence also builds presence. When you walk into a room and you are quiet, people feel you more. The man who always talks is forgettable. Background noise, just another voice among thousands. The one who stays silent commands curiosity. Others wonder what you're thinking, why you don't need to prove yourself, why you seem so comfortable in stillness. That mystery becomes power. Your words carry more weight when they are rare, when they are earned by silence. People will lean in when you speak because they know you don't waste energy on empty talk. But silence is not passive. It is not weakness. It is active discipline. It is a choice to control your energy rather than scatter it. It is choosing to observe when your ego wants to react. It is choosing to wait when your impatience wants to rush. It is choosing to focus when the world begs you to be distracted. This is not about muting your voice forever. It's about sharpening it. Silence is the grind behind closed doors, the work nobody sees, the preparation nobody applauds. Then one day, when you finally move, when you finally speak, it's unstoppable because it has been forged in discipline and clarity. Understand this, the world rewards those who can master themselves. Every battle you face is first fought inside you. And silence is the battlefield where you gain the upper hand. When you choose silence, you take back control from the world. You are no longer pulled like a puppet by noise, opinions, trends, arguments. You become your own anchor. That is clarity. That is control. And once you master that, you cannot be shaken, no matter how loud the world gets. Patience in silence attracts opportunity, but most people will never understand this because they live in a culture of rushing, of instant gratification, of craving everything now. They want the rewards before they've put in the work, the recognition before they've earned the right, the results before they've developed the discipline. That hunger for shortcuts is exactly what keeps them blind to the truth. Life's greatest opportunities are not chased, they are attracted. And the magnet that pulls them into your life is the patience you master in silence. When you are silent and patient, you position yourself differently than the rest of the world. Everyone else is making noise, broadcasting their every move, bragging about small wins, begging for attention. They are desperate to be seen. But desperation repels opportunity. Nobody wants to invest in the loud man who hasn't proven himself. Nobody trusts the one who is constantly selling an image without results to back it. On the other hand, the one who stays quiet, focused, and consistent draws attention without asking for it. People begin to notice the strength of his composure, the way he doesn't need to prove anything, the way he moves with purpose, but without hurry. Patience becomes magnetic. It tells the world, I am not chasing, I am becoming. Opportunities often come disguised. They don't arrive in perfect packaging, labeled, this is the chance of your life. They show up in small conversations, in unexpected moments, in challenges that most dismiss as irrelevant. And if you are impatient, if you are noisy, if you are too busy filling every silence with distraction, you miss them. But when you cultivate silence and patience, you begin to see what others don't. And so today on this pod, by definition, our life is our opportunity. And enough it seems to us, it's never the opportunities themselves. You recognize patterns, you notice doors that are slightly open, you feel when the timing is right. The man who is patient doesn't jump at every offer, he waits for the right one. And because he waits, he ends up with opportunities that others never even knew existed. Patience in silence also shows maturity. It tells the world that you are not led by impulse. Think of a predator in the wild. A lion doesn't roar while stalking its prey. It waits silently, patiently, until the perfect moment to strike. That is why it wins. Opportunity works the same way. If you rush, you scare it away. If you are silent and patient, you allow it to come closer to unfold naturally. And when the timing is perfect, you move with precision. The truth is, most people sabotage themselves because they cannot wait. They settle for less because the silence of waiting feels unbearable. They take the first option, the easy option, the comfortable option, and in doing so, they close the door to something greater that was coming their way. Patience requires faith, but not blind faith. Faith in your preparation, faith in your discipline, faith that what you are building in silence is creating a gravity that will pull opportunities into your orbit. If you keep doing the work, if you stay consistent, if you refuse to break under impatience, the right doors will open. They always do. Patience in silence also teaches humility. You realize you don't need to announce your every move. You don't need to broadcast every step. You are willing to wait for results to speak louder than words. And the irony is, when you stop chasing recognition, recognition comes. When you stop hunting validation, validation finds you. Opportunities are drawn to those who do not beg for them, but to those who silently make themselves ready. Think of every successful person you admire. They all had a period of silence, a period when nobody believed in them, when nobody was watching, when nobody cared. And in that period, they were patient. They built, they refined, they stayed consistent. Then suddenly, to the outside world, they blew up overnight. But it wasn't overnight. It was patience in silence, attracting opportunity over years. Most just didn't see it because the work wasn't loud. So when you feel restless, when you feel like nothing is happening, understand this, something is happening. Growth is invisible before it becomes undeniable. Seeds take time underground before they break through the soil. Patience is not wasting time. It is investing time. It is proof that you trust the process enough to let it unfold. And when you do that, opportunities start to appear, not by accident, but because you created the space for them. Patience in silence is not passive. It's not sitting around waiting for luck. It is active discipline. It's the grind no one claps for. It's the sacrifice nobody notices. It's the consistency nobody praises. That invisible effort creates momentum that attracts visible opportunities. The world cannot resist someone who is prepared, someone who has mastered themselves enough to wait for the right moment. When you have patience in silence, you don't chase. Everything you need starts to chase you. Discipline in silence builds unshakable strength, but this is something few people are willing to embrace because silence feels uncomfortable and discipline feels like a burden. Most people crave noise because it distracts them from their lack of control. They surround themselves with constant chatter, constant validation, constant stimulation because silence exposes the truth. Without discipline, they are weak. But here's the reality. Real strength is never loud. Real strength is forged in the unseen hours, in the moments where no one is clapping, no one is watching, and no one even cares. Discipline in silence is what turns ordinary men into extraordinary forces, because it builds a foundation so solid that nothing can break it. When you are silent, you are free from the need to impress others. You are not chasing applause. You are not looking for validation. You are simply focused on building yourself, brick by brick, habit by habit. That discipline compounds, day after day, until it becomes unshakable. Most people fail because they cannot remain consistent in the dark. They need recognition to fuel them, and when recognition doesn't come, they quit. But the one who trains in silence, who works in silence, who sacrifices in silence, is unstoppable because his strength is not borrowed from others, it is built within. Discipline in silence also hardens your mind. Every time you choose to keep going without boasting, without announcing, you prove to yourself that your willpower is greater than your ego. That creates mental armor. You no longer depend on motivation or mood swings. You do the work because it must be done, not because anyone will notice. That is strength. The kind of strength no setback, no criticism, no doubt can penetrate. The undisciplined man collapses the moment life gets hard. The disciplined one, sharpened by silence, stands unbroken. Think about it. All great warriors, leaders, athletes, builders, before their names echoed in the world, they had long periods of silence. Hours in the gym when nobody watched. Nights at the desk when nobody cared. Sacrifices that nobody ever thanked them for. That silence was their training ground, and their discipline in that silence became their power. By the time the world saw them, their strength was already unshakable. People call it talent, luck, or natural ability, but in truth, it was the silent discipline that built them. In silence, discipline becomes a dialogue between you and yourself. There is no external applause to keep you moving. It's only you asking, will I honor my word today? Will I keep the promise I made to myself? And when you answer yes again and again, your confidence transforms. Because strength is not built in achieving one big goal. It is built in keeping small promises to yourself consistently, silently, until you know you cannot fail. Every repetition, every hour of focus, every sacrifice made without noise stacks into an unshakable fortress of discipline. Discipline in silence also gives you independence. You no longer rely on anyone to push you, to remind you, to validate you. You become self-sufficient. And independence is strength because it means nobody controls your growth except you. When you have trained yourself to move in silence, you become dangerous, not to others, but to weakness, to mediocrity, to the parts of you that want to quit. You no longer negotiate with excuses because you've proven in silence that you are in charge. The weak man seeks shortcuts, praise, and instant gratification. The disciplined man in silence endures the grind, the boredom, the repetition. And while the weak crumble when tested, the disciplined man cannot be shaken. His strength is not built on fragile ego, but on silent repetition. This is why discipline in silence is so rare, because it requires you to be your own judge, your own critic, your own motivator. And most people cannot face that level of responsibility, but those who do, they build a strength that nothing can steal. So when the world doubts you and no one notices your effort, when it feels like you are invisible, understand this is your training ground. This is where your discipline is building you into something greater. Silence is not punishment, it is preparation. And the discipline you practice now, when nobody sees, will become the strength that carries you when everyone finally does. Discipline in silence is not glamorous, but it is unbreakable. And once you have built that kind of strength, there is nothing in this world that can move you. Silence reveals truth and exposes weakness in others, because when you stop speaking, you allow the world to reveal itself. People think words are power, but often words are just masks. Words can be crafted to deceive, to impress, to hide insecurity, but silence strips away those masks. When you stay quiet, when you refuse to fill the space with noise, you force others to reveal themselves. They begin to over-explain, to justify, to expose their intentions without realizing it. Silence is the mirror that shows what words try to cover. If you want to know who truly stands strong and who is fragile, give them silence. The strong are comfortable in it, the weak crumble under it. Think about it. In arguments, It's usually the one who speaks less who controls the conversation. The loudest person often seems powerful, but in truth, their volume is covering insecurity. The one who can remain calm and quiet has already won. Silence unsettles people, makes them uncomfortable, because it forces them to confront their own thoughts, their own fears, their own flaws. They cannot hide behind chatter. That's why silence exposes weakness. It removes the shield of words. It shows you who is patient and who is impulsive, who is composed and who is frantic, who is confident and who is desperate. Silence also reveals truth because it creates space for observation. When you are quiet, you see what others miss. You notice the subtle body language, the small hesitations, the inconsistencies in stories. People betray themselves constantly, but most are too busy talking to notice. Silence turns you into an observer, and observation is intelligent. While others are wasting energy trying to dominate with words, you are gathering information, reading the room, seeing the truth behind appearances. And with that clarity, you gain an advantage no amount of noise can buy. The truth is that people reveal their character not by what they plan to say, but by what slips out when they are uncomfortable. Silence creates that discomfort. It creates pressure. And in that pressure, the real person shows up. You see who panics, who loses control, who exposes insecurity. Weakness cannot hide for long in silence. That's why interrogators, negotiators, and great leaders all use silence as a weapon. They don't rush to fill every gap. They let silence stretch until the truth surfaces. But silence is not just about exposing weakness in others. It also reveals the truth in situations. When you pause and stay silent, you notice patterns, red flags, and opportunities that are invisible to the impatient. Most people act too quickly, too loudly, and they miss the deeper reality. Silence allows you to see the layers beneath the surface. In business, it shows you who is genuine and who is bluffing. In relationships, it shows you who is loyal and who is pretending. In life, it shows you what truly matters and what is just noise. Here's the power. When you master silence, you never have to chase truth. It comes to you. People reveal themselves to the patient observer. They will talk enough for you to know exactly who they are. They will show their insecurities without you lifting a finger. They will give away their weaknesses simply because they cannot stand the weight of silence. That is why silence is feared. It forces honesty. Weak people think strength is in shouting louder, proving themselves constantly, being the center of attention. Strong people know strength is in restraint, in letting silence work for them. When you can hold your tongue, you hold the power. When you can resist the urge to explain, to defend, to brag, you stay untouchable. And in that quiet composure, everyone else's weakness becomes obvious. Silence is also the filter that separates real connection from shallow noise. If someone cannot sit with you in silence, if they need constant talking to feel secure, they are unsettled within themselves. The strongest relationships, the deepest bonds can exist in silence. That's truth. That's authenticity. And the inability to handle silence is a weakness that exposes desperation for distraction. So when you want to know the truth, stay silent. When you want to see someone's weakness, stay silent. When you want to take control without fighting for it, stay silent. Because silence is not empty, it is full of answers. The world has taught people to equate volume with strength, but silence will always win. It reveals what words try to hide, it exposes what pride tries to mask, and it gives you clarity that noise will never allow. In the end, silence is not passive. It is one of the sharpest weapons you can carry. And the person who masters silence becomes dangerous because they see everything, they miss nothing, and they never reveal themselves until the moment they choose. That kind of strength is rare. That kind of strength is unshakable. Silence is truth. Silence is power. And silence will always uncover the weakness of those who cannot handle it. And so, understand this. Silence is not emptiness. It is not weakness. It is not absence. Silence is the forge where strength is built, where clarity is discovered, where patience shapes destiny, and where truth is revealed. The world will try to convince you that you must always be loud, that you must always announce your every move, that you must prove yourself in the eyes of others. But the world is wrong. The man who never learns to be silent never learns to master himself. When you stay silent, you are not doing nothing. You are building, you are observing, you are preparing, and when the time finally comes to act, your actions will speak with a force no words could match. Remember this, storms make noise, but it is the calm mountain that endures. Noise fades, silence lasts. Patience in silence attracts opportunity, discipline in silence builds unshakable strength, and silence itself reveals truth and exposes weakness in others. So embrace it. Live it, master it. Let silence be your ally, your training ground, your weapon. Because when you truly understand the power of silence, You will no longer chase the world will chase you.